Hey guys, welcome back to Joe Yo. And hey, you know what? Have you guys ever seen the movie Demolition Man? I mean, it's from 1993. It's okay if you can't think of it. 1993 was a very big movie year. Just listen to the movies that came out this year. It had Jurassic Park, Sleepless in Seattle, Schindler's List, Tombstone, The Sandlot, Mrs. Doubtfire, Groundhog Day, Menace to Society, The Fugitive, Cool Runnings, and on and on. When you get a chance, take a look at the list of movies that came out that year. Again, when you get a chance. 1993 was absolutely loaded. Now, this area, Johnston County, didn't really have tremendous access to movie theaters in the 1990s. Johnston County in the middle of the 20th century actually had a whole lot more than the 1990s. For example, in the mid-20th century, we had a theater in Clayton called the Clayton Theater. Kenly had a theater called, the Kenly Theater. Every town had a theater. Almost every town had a theater. My grandmother used to tell me stories about watching Gone with the Wind at the Princess Theater in Benson in 1939. The Princess is now a parking lot. If you lived in the middle of the 20th century, in this area especially, it would be difficult to go to a movie theater not owned by a Howell. You know that Smithfield's home to the Howell Theater, which it has a history dating back to 1935, and even hosting a worldwide movie premiere. How many movie theaters in America do you think of that can boast a world premiere of a movie outside of Hollywood, New York City, of course? Ava Gardner chose the Howell Theater in Smithfield to premiere her movie, The Great Sinner, with Gregory Peck. So there's that. It was at the Howell, actually, that I saw several movies, including Demolition Man. But the Howell movie theater was not the first Howell theater. Now, Henry Paul Howell had bought the Lyric movie theater, which originally had opened in 1918. He had bought that, which is actually, it was right across the road years before he opened the Howell. It was renamed the Victory, for a while. And again, for a while, the two movie theaters operated across the street from each other. The Howell on one side and the Victory on the other, both owned by the same guy. At one time, the Howells, HP, which what they called him, and Rudy, his son, operated a cinema empire, owning eventually 12 theaters, one in Clinton, another in Ahoskie. Obviously, they owned the Rudy in Selma. Rudy Howell. Quite the entrepreneur, H.P. Howell not only provided movie entertainment, depending on the night, you could catch jugglers, dancers, live bands. He even set up a bus route to go pick you up if you didn't want to or couldn't walk to the movie theater to go catch a movie. That's cool. But of course, this was not destined to hold any more than small town theaters like the Princess and Benson. One of the reasons is improved transportation options in the middle of the 20th century. If I-95 can help build Disney World, it can certainly help tear down small town movie theaters, which is exactly what it did. Some people like H.P. Howell were able to not only see that, but were also able to act on it and create more movie theaters, but of a different kind, that were not only benefited by transportation and its advances, but also celebrated the advances of transportation. By the 1950s, there were over 200 drive-in movies in North Carolina. You not only could get there in your car, you never even had to get out of it to enjoy your movie. Some drive-ins were exceptional. The Forest Drive-In, for example, in Raleigh, which opened in Raleigh in 1949 at the corner of Capitol and New Hope Church Road, had a 500-car capacity. At the Forest Drive-In in Raleigh, you could park, get food and drink delivered. The theater offered to patch your tire if you had a hole in it, get a little bit of slack there, sell you a little bit of gas if you were running low. They would even offer to warm a baby bottle if you asked. Now, with drive-ins, what usually happened, and not just with the Forest, but with all of them, with drive-ins, you pulled up to the ticket window, still in your car, buy tickets in your car. Usually by the car load was the price instead of per person. Just like a drive-through. You get told your spot, drive to it, park, grab the speaker from the post, put it on your window, and you're ready to go. Okay. Now, this was ideal for families with young children that wanted to see a movie but didn't want to pay for a babysitter. To accommodate them, some drive-ins had playgrounds and merry-go-rounds on them. It was ideal for those people who were just getting off work, tired and perhaps even dirty, and going to a movie house would require getting all cleaned up and you just want to unwind. Drive-ins were ideal for those guys too, and to further accommodate that group, some of them had picnic areas. Fast food places were normally nearby, like at the Starlight in Wilson, close to Kenley, where you could walk to Burger Boy and bring it back and watch a movie. Others, most even, had concession stands that would deliver to your vehicle. Some others had on-site laundry facilities, again, for those guys, ideal for those groups. Most of them offered double features, which, unlike the traditional movie theaters, you get one movie and then another after a short intermission, all for the price of one. Now, nearly everybody had access to one by the 1970s. Again, Starlight was in Wilson, but you also had the Model and the Waco drive-in in Goldsboro. The Waco was easily accessible to those in Princeton and Pine Level. And the Waco had a 200-car capacity and ran from the 1950s to 1985. Now, myself, I'm more familiar with the Starview that opened in 1953 in Benson, and the Cotton Bowl on 301 between Benson and Dunn. I actually saw a movie there when I was a kid. Those close to Corinth Holders area could go to the Wake Lawn Theater in Zebulon until 1975. Now, most people in Johnston visited the county drive-in in Smithfield at some point or another. Since it was in Smithfield, yes, it was owned by the Howell Group. I mean, kind of hard to get away from the empire. It could host 250 cars. And, in fact, many Johnston residents still frequent the site of the county drive-in today. Only now it's the parking lot of the Smithfield Wal-Mart. Progress. Now, they're pretty much all gone. Drive-ins are a thing of the past, and they were born because of changing times, and, well, they're dying because of other changing times. But a few still linger. A couple years ago, I saw a movie at a drive-in for the first time in years when I got to catch Thor Ragnarok at the Baden Road Drive-In in Albemarle, North Carolina. Just a couple of things were different. Instead of putting a speaker on my driver's side window, for instance, now I just had to tune my car radio to a particular station. I think it was 90.1, and listen to the movie that way through my car speakers. Massive improvement. You can also go to the Eden Drive-In in Eden, North Carolina. There's one in Shelby in the mountains. The Raleigh Road Outdoor Theater in Henderson was originally called the Moonglow, but it still operates. But the night at the Baden Road Drive-In was full of hope for this institution. I mean that place was packed. Apparently, someone took up the idea and actually opened a new drive-in movie theater in Kings Mountain in 2016. What do you know? There's life in this old girl yet. Which brings me back to the movie Demolition Man. How? What? You'll see. Let me tell you. See, this movie Demolition Man starred Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes, and it was set in the future after a couple of disastrous events which led to a lot of changes, which is an actual quote from the movie. One of those changes was the elimination of every fast food chain, including McDonald's in this dystopian future. They're all no more fast food chains. The only one that was left standing for what they called the franchise wars was Taco Bell. I mean, why Taco Bell? I mean, I don't know, man. It's a Stallone movie, and as such, it doesn't generally care so much about logic. I mean, did you watch Rocky IV? But really, do you know who would really win in a real life franchise wars? Dude, Chick-fil-A. I mean, have you been through their drive-through during this pandemic? I mean, wow. Chick-fil-A is going to be fine. They appear to be thriving in Corona world. They got it figured out. Some others, well, not so much. I mean, in the past 30 days, we lost JCPenney and Pier 1. I mean, both went bankrupt, both no longer going to exist. Adapt or die, right? Now, the first drive-in movie ever that I know of, that I could research, opened in 1933 in New Jersey, of course, boomed by the 1950s and hung on until about the early 80s. Again, only a few survived, but wait a minute, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Well, a 55-year-old diner in Queens in New York City is thinking what I'm thinking. The Bel Air Diner opened the country's newest drive-in movie theater on March 20, 2020. And it stays packed every night that it shows movies. Traditional movie theaters are dying off, but not this one. This was doing mad business. Watching movies at home is okay and all, but it's not like going to the movies. But going to the movies and sitting this close to a stranger might put you at risk for an infection. Dude, this pandemic situation is screaming to bring back the drive-in movies. I mean, I could be wrong, but my nostalgia is screaming for them too. Change may kill old institutions. It may give birth to fresh new ones. Maybe it can help us resurrect ones that, like the Taco Bell and Demolition Man, just hadn't yet seen its full potential get realized. Who knows? And that's it. It's been a blast. Love it like I always do. And again, you keep listening. I appreciate you doing so. If you keep listening, I'll keep making them because we're at 74 episodes. And y'all, I have not even, well, okay, I've scratched the surface, but I ain't got in deep yet. So until next time, y'all, be good.